Picture a mountainous landscape covered with winding roads. It looks beautiful, but traveling along such routes takes far too much time. Do you know what they did in China, in the province of Guizhou? They simply blew up a massive mountain range and built a bridge. But this is not just a bridge. It's a true marvel of engineering. So let's take a drive across it. Locals say there's not a single flat piece of land in Guizhou. More than 90% of the region consists of mountains and hills. All of this is beautiful and picturesque, but it creates serious logistical problems. It's one thing to come here as a tourist and enjoy the views, and quite another to live here and drive to work every day. People had to take long routes along winding roads and steep slopes. A car trip could take around 2 hours. But engineers built a bridge that reduced this travel time to just 120 seconds. They literally split a mountain in half, creating a V-shaped cut through the rock. Then they laid a road through the mountain range and led it onto a high bridge spanning a massive canyon. The entire route is constructed so precisely that drivers barely notice the moment when the road through the mountain ends and the bridge begins. Its total length is 9,500 feet. That's roughly 1/3 of the height of Mount Everest. But the length is not as impressive as the height. The Huajiang Canyon Bridge is considered the highest bridge in the world. Just imagine driving at a height of about 2,000 feet above the ground. That's almost 6 times higher than the Statue of Liberty. But this isn't just a road. It's also a major tourist attraction. So, what can the tourists do on the bridge? Just walk and enjoy the view? Well, that's only a small part. There's a panoramic glass elevator that connects the highway with the base of the canyon. You can have lunch in a special 2-story cafe located inside one of the bridge towers, offering an incredible view. There's an artificial waterfall and a glass pedestrian walkway in the lower part of the parking area. But the coolest part is the extreme activities, like a platform for bungee jumping. You hook yourself to a bungee cord and leap into the abyss. No thanks. And for true adrenaline lovers, professional base jumping competitions are held here too. You leap from an enormous height with a parachute or a wingsuit and soar through the canyon at an incredible speed, like a hawk. It sounds amazing, and you probably already want to come here and post a few photos. But how did they build it, and how safe is it? From the outside, it looks like a thin metal strip suspended at a terrifying height. The entire structure is supported by steel cables and panels, with a total weight of about 22,000 tons. In fact, the amount of steel used to build this bridge is 3 times greater than that used to construct the Eiffel Tower. The main cables of the bridge are anchored directly into solid rock, so the bridge won't collapse. But if something does go wrong, the builders will know immediately. Fiber optic sensors are installed within the cables. In real time, they monitor tension and expansion in the steel. This means the bridge is under constant observation. If strong winds or other factors cause any issues, engineers will detect them in advance and fix the problem. But the most impressive part is that during construction, scientists took all turbulence zones into account. How did they manage that? Well, there's a phenomenon called the Venturi effect. When wind passes through a narrow space, such as a canyon or tunnel, it accelerates. In Guizhou province, this effect is very common. Wind gusts in the Huajiang Canyon can reach speeds comparable to a high-speed train. So how did they manage to build a bridge under these conditions? Well, before construction began, engineers created a mock-up and tested it in a wind tunnel. Using special instruments, they studied wind directions and compiled a unique airflow map that allowed them to predict all turbulent zones. With this information, they moved on to the actual construction. Now, let's see another impressive bridge in China. This is the Sidu River Bridge, which spans the Sidu River, obviously. It was opened in 2009 and became part of an expanding highway system that connects the entire country. Of course, it's not as long or as tall as the Huajiang Bridge. It's supported by 2 8-shaped towers located on both sides of the roadway. Because of the suspension cables that dip down and rise again in the middle, the bridge looks, well, fragile. But don't judge by appearances. Engineers designed this structure to withstand a load of more than 43 million tons. That's equivalent to the weight of 430 massive aircraft carriers. So driving across it is completely safe. But do you know what the coolest part of this bridge is? To stretch the first pilot cable from one side to the other across a distance of more than 5,000 feet, builders used a rocket. You know those heist movies where the thieves release a grappling hook or a harpoon to cross from one building to another? The workers did something like that here. You probably had no idea that bridges could be built this way. Okay, let's now move from high-tech giant bridges to something much simpler and more dangerous. Think back to cartoons and movies about Mowgli and Tarzan. Remember how they swung through dense jungles, climbing vines and trees? Well, you can relive that experience if you travel to Ghana, where the Kakum Canopy Walk is located. So this is a series of rope bridges right inside a real jungle. 2 Canadian engineers and several locals created this attraction in 1995 to draw tourists. At first glance, these bridges look like the vine and wood rope bridges you've seen in adventure movies. However, they are reinforced with steel cables, aluminum, and wooden planks. And they also have protective mesh barriers to prevent accidental falls. Good thing. The bridges hang from trees at a height of more than 130 feet, and their total length is about 1,000 feet. So you can truly feel like Tarzan. Meanwhile, the bridge at El Caminito del Rey in Malaga, Spain, runs between 2 cliffs. Only 3 feet wide, it's suspended 328 feet above the river. It's a very narrow path. You'll probably feel dizzy during the crossing. But don't worry, the bridge is equipped with high railings. It was originally built so workers at hydroelectric power stations could cross the mountainous terrain. Eventually, it became a local landmark, a small but incredibly cozy and picturesque bridge. You look at it, and you immediately want to walk across this stunning path. Me? Not so much. I don't like heights. Well, we started this video with one of the most technologically advanced bridges in the world. Let's finish with one of the most dangerous and extreme. Oh goody. It's called the Hussaini Suspension Bridge and is located in the Gilgit-Baltistan region in northern Pakistan. In this area, residents were cut off from the rest of the country because of the mountainous terrain and lack of roads. Wealthier locals could travel here by plane, but for everyone else, only pedestrian crossings were available. Then a highway was built here, along with several fragile wooden bridges, and the most famous of them is the Hussaini Bridge. If you find yourself at the very beginning of it, you will probably think twice before crossing this path. Now it looks much better, but in the past, this bridge had many planks missing, and strong winds shook the structure from side to side. There were no safety nets or high railings. In 2011, the bridge was destroyed by monsoon rains. After that, it was completely reconstructed. Now it consists of steel cables and sturdy wooden planks. And nearby, there are ziplining and sky cycling stations. It's become a popular tourist attraction. So, if you enjoy testing your nerves and are a fan of Indiana Jones, you will definitely like this place. Me? I'll just watch you.
Did you know there's a mountain so fatal that nearly 1 in 3 climbers who reach the top
Oh yeah.
never make it back down? It's called Annapurna 1, and it's like the evil twin of Mount Everest. Standing at over 26,500 feet, it's nature's version of a booby trap. Most mountains are dangerous on the way up, but this one, it waits until you're heading back down, just when you think you're safe. Annapurna is named after the Hindu deity of food and nourishment. That's fitting, since the mountain feeds rivers that water crops in the valleys below. But the irony kicks in at the summit, where it turns from life-giver to life-taker, serving up avalanches, collapsing ice walls, and falling rocks like it's auditioning for a disaster movie. Climbers have called it unpredictable, unstable, and straight up unforgiving. At one point, Annapurna's fatality rate was around 32%, which sounds terrifying. In the last decade or so, thanks to better gear and satellite weather tracking, that number went down, but it's still close to 20%, which is chilling. By the time climbers start heading down, they're already exhausted, oxygen deprived, and often racing against sudden weather shifts. That's when decision-making and footing fall apart. On Annapurna, making it to the top doesn't mean you've made it. It just means you've triggered the second half of the boss fight, and you're now playing with low health and no save point. Oh, and your stamina bar is gone, your gear's breaking, and someone has turned off the music. It's the kind of climb that makes seasoned mountaineers rethink their life choices mid-descent. But if you think that's bad, wait till you meet its colder, meaner cousin, K2. Located in Pakistan, this one doesn't even pretend to like you, and it's so notorious that Hollywood made movies about it. At over 28,200 feet, K2 is nicknamed the Savage Mountain, and that seems like an understatement. Here, the weather changes faster than my Spotify playlist, with extreme storms that can last for days. The mountain is basically a vertical obstacle course made of ice, rock, and regret. It's like someone built a Ninja Warrior course, straight up, in a snowstorm, and forgot to mention there's no prize money, just bragging rights and frostbite. At that height, when you're over 26,000 feet, you're in what professionals call the lethal zone. Sounds dramatic, I know, because it is. There's only about a third of the oxygen you get at sea level, and your body basically starts giving up the longer you stay up there. It's impossible for a human being to adapt to these conditions. Most climbers bring bottled oxygen, but it's heavy, limited, and not exactly foolproof. Drop a canister? That's your backup plan gone. And there's the cold, like negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit cold, frozen fingers, frozen gear, frozen brain. Helicopters can't reach the higher camps, so if things go south, you're not getting airlifted out. The final obstacle before the summit is called the bottleneck. It's like tiptoeing under a cartoon anvil that's been wobbling for hours and hoping today is not that day. Ironically though, despite all the dangers, the bottleneck is still technically the easiest and fastest route to the summit. Climbing K2 isn't some inspirational bucket list moment. It's a multi-day argument with gravity, in the middle of a blizzard, while your legs are jelly and your brain's running on half a thought per hour. I feel like that's just imagining myself there. Man, climbers seem to be one of the bravest people on the planet. The next one is called Nanga Parbat, also located in Pakistan. Don't be tricked by a cool fantasy-like name because it's nicknamed Killer Mountain. It's the 9th highest peak in the world at over 26,600 feet. And it's earned a reputation for being one of the most technically challenging climbs on Earth. Its main feature is called Rupal Face. It's the tallest mountain face in the world, a mind-blowing wall of rock and ice that rises more than 15,000 vertical feet from base to summit. It's not just tall, it's almost completely vertical, with sections that are brutally exposed, avalanche-prone, and constantly shifting. From the base of the valley to the top of the summit, it's one continuous climb. No gentle slopes or places to catch your breath, just straight up. Imagine standing at the bottom and seeing a wall of a mountain stretching 3 miles into the sky. It's beautiful, but for me, it would be a nope moment. However, we have already established that climbers are fierce and smile in the face of a challenge. For example, back in 1953, an Austrian climber, Hermann Buhl, made history here by completing the first ever solo ascent of a 26,000 plus foot peak, and he did it without bottled oxygen. This remains the only instance in which a summit that high was reached by an individual climbing alone. That's not just brave, it's borderline superhuman. He even had to spend the night perched on a tiny icy ledge near the summit because he couldn't get back down before dark. Again, what made Nanga Parbat stand out isn't just the altitude, it's the isolation and the terrain. It's quiet, remote, and steep from almost every angle. The next one on the list of scary mountains I have for you today is Kanchenjunga. It's the 3rd highest mountain on Earth at 28,169 feet. This one sits right on the border between Nepal and India. And funny enough, doesn't have a scary nickname. In fact, the locals consider the summit sacred. Many climbers stop just a few feet short out of respect, which is kind of poetic and also smart because the final stretch might as well be like walking a tightrope over a snow-covered trap door. It's not the worst, but it's definitely super dangerous. Visibility is really poor, and there may be hidden cornices hanging over nothing but thin air. Step too far to one side, and whoops, you could end up walking off the edge of a mountain disguised as a cloud. Something tells me that even Wile E. Coyote would find this scenario horrifying. And honestly, again, that just proves how gutsy these climbers really are. But here's something really cool. Kanchenjunga is home to its own version of Bigfoot. Locals call it the Kanchenjunga Demon. Explorers in the 20th century swore they saw a giant hairy creature wandering the slopes. Others claim to have found mysterious tracks way too big to be human. So basically, while trying to reach the summit, you're balancing on a frozen beam 28,000 feet in the air, squinting through blinding snow, hoping your next step isn't your last, and that Yeti won't find you. Another fun fact, Kanchenjunga used to be considered the tallest mountain on Earth until 1852, when someone with a theodolite and a lot of patience figured out that Everest was actually higher. That was a bad day for Kanchenjunga. Still, bronze medal in height, gold medal for mystique. But what about the one that has the gold medal in height? The most famous one, Mount Everest. At 29,032 feet, it's the highest point on Earth. It's so tall that the summit sticks into the jet stream. That means winds can hit over 100 miles per hour up there. But here's the thing. For all its altitude, Everest isn't actually the most technically difficult climb. In fact, thanks to modern gear, detailed routes, and, well, a whole crowd of people doing it every season, it's kind of become the world's most extreme bucket list item. Yep, at 26,000 feet, you might literally be stuck in line behind someone taking a selfie. In 1953, Sir Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay became the first confirmed climbers to reach the summit, and that instantly turned Everest into a symbol of peak human achievement. Since then, thousands have tried to follow in their footsteps, some chasing glory, others chasing a once-in-a-lifetime thrill. But make no mistake, just because it's popular doesn't mean it's easy. Far from it, it's still very dangerous. The cold is brutal, the air is razor thin, and the weather can flip in minutes. Frostbite, altitude sickness, crevices, falling ice, it's all on the menu. And up in the lethal zone, even basic tasks like clipping into a rope feel like slow-motion puzzles from a bad dream. Mount St. Helens is exploding. A massive earthquake is ripping through the area, and a side of the volcano is giving way, crashing down in a deafening landslide. A towering wall of rock, ash, and debris is roaring down the valley, flattening everything in its path. Then comes the blast, a sideways explosion of superheated gas and volcanic debris. Trees are snapping like matchsticks. Homes are vanishing under an ash cloud so thick it blots out the sun. Ashfall rains down on towns hundreds of miles away. People are scrambling for masks and fleeing roads blocked by mud flows called lahars, toxic rivers of volcanic mud. The air fills with dust. Emergency sirens scream. Airports shut down. Hospitals fill with people struggling to breathe. The sky glows eerie orange as lightning storms ignite within the ash cloud overhead. This nightmarish scenario might play out very soon. Mount St. Helens, the famous volcano that blew its top in 1980, is acting a bit restless lately. According to the U.S. Geological Survey, about 350 earthquakes occurred from February to June 2024, and 12 more from September 2024 to January 2025. It was like a bunch of tiny tremors throwing a party underground. Most were so tiny you wouldn't even feel them. But on May 31st, 2024, there was one that hit magnitude 2.0. It's just strong enough that if you were nearby, you might have felt a little rumble. Don't freak out yet, though. Over 95% of those quakes were super small, with a magnitude less than 1.0. Scientists say this is the biggest burst of shaking since the volcano last erupted in 2008. But the volcano has already done this before. In the late 80s and 90s, it didn't blow up, so more earthquakes didn't mean an eruption is guaranteed. What's really going on might be something called a recharge, which is like the volcano's version of refueling. Magma, the hot melted rock, slowly climbs up from deep underground and fills a big underground magma chamber about 2.5 to 6 miles down. When magma fills this tank, it can cause a lot of stress underground, which makes the ground shake. Right now, there's no other sign that the volcano is about to blow. No weird ground bulges, no extra gas leaks, no heat spikes. The USGS says this level of shaking can go on for years without anything major happening. The alert level is still at normal. But it was very different back on May 18, 1980. Mount St. Helens unleashed one of the most explosive volcanic eruptions in history. And it all started with a huge earthquake, bigger than magnitude 5. But this wasn't just any earthquake. It triggered a massive landslide that ripped off the top of the volcano and tore away the rock and ice that had been holding everything down like a giant lid. Suddenly, the pressure that had been trapping superheated water underground vanished. That water instantly turned to steam, and boom! It burst sideways in a powerful hydrothermal blast. And that was only the beginning. With the top gone, the magma beneath the surface suddenly felt free. It started rising faster, forming bubbles and erupting with terrifying force. For 9 straight hours, Mount St. Helens was sending ash and gas miles into the sky. This giant blast didn't come out of nowhere. The warning signs started months before. On March 16, 1980, tiny earthquakes shook the volcano for the first time in years. By March 27, after hundreds of quakes, Mount St. Helens had its first little steam eruption in over a century. It threw ash and rock into the air and blasted a crater in the icy summit. The volcano kept getting angrier. That crater grew fast and cracks spread across the summit. At the same time, eruptions went from one every hour in March to one every day by April. Then things quieted down for a while. Few people realized that the danger was just beneath the surface. By May, over 10,000 earthquakes had rattled the mountain. The north side of the volcano swelled outward, growing about 450 feet. It was a bulge so huge that it looked like the mountain was about to explode. Scientists knew that magma was pushing up inside, creating a hidden cryptodome, a giant underground pocket of molten rock. And then it blew, shattering the mountain and changing the landscape. On May 18, 1980, exactly at 8:32 a.m., a magnitude 5.1 earthquake hit Mount St. Helens. Without any obvious warning signs, the entire north side of the volcano, the part that had been bulging out for weeks, suddenly broke loose and slid away in a massive landslide. This wasn't just any landslide, it was the largest debris avalanche ever recorded on Earth. Imagine a giant mass of rock, dirt, and trees rushing downhill. It was like dumping 1 million Olympic swimming pools full of stuff into the valley. When the cryptodome got ripped away, the pressure inside the volcano dropped incredibly fast, and this sudden pressure release triggered a huge sideways explosion that tore through the landslide debris. This lateral blast was insanely fast, over 300 miles per hour, and it ripped through everything in its path. Trees were uprooted, forests flattened, and a giant cloud of ash and hot rock shot straight up into the sky. In just 15 minutes, that eruption cloud soared more than 80,000 feet high, way higher than an altitude of 35,000 feet at which commercial airplanes fly. The blast destroyed an area nearly 19 miles wide from west to east and stretched over 12 miles to the north. In the zone closest to the volcano, almost no trees were left standing. At the blast's far edge, the remaining trees were scorched and burned. A huge area, about 230 square miles, was covered by a thick blanket of hot debris. That sudden release of pressure also affected the volcano's plumbing system, all the way to the underground magma chamber. With less pressure holding it back, the superhot magma suddenly expanded and rushed upward toward the surface. Starting just after noon, fast-moving pyroclastic flows, superhot clouds of gas, ash, and debris, raced out of the crater at speeds between 50 and 80 miles per hour. Those flows formed what we now know as the pumice plain. Scientists say the eruption hit its most powerful stage between 3 and 5 p.m. When the violent phase finally ended, the summit revealed a brand new giant crater shaped like an amphitheater. All day long, the winds carried over 540 million tons of volcanic ash east across the United States. The ash was so thick, it caused total darkness in Spokane, Washington, about 250 miles away. Ash also fell as far as central Montana and could even be spotted hundreds of miles farther east, all the way to the Great Plains, which is over 900 miles from the volcano. The massive ash cloud spread across the entire US in just 3 days and then circled the entire planet in just 15 days. But there was one more problem. The hot gas and rocks were so wild and fast that they melted and ripped up a lot of the snow and ice sitting on top of Mount St. Helens. That sudden rush of melted ice and water mixed with loose dirt and rock, creating fast-moving, dangerous mud flows called lahars. Those lahars tore down the mountain into the river valleys, and the biggest, nastiest lahar hit the North Fork Tidal River. As this muddy, powerful flood barreled downstream, it picked up more dirt and debris, growing bigger and stronger. It smashed through bridges, crushed homes, and finally slammed into the Cowlitz River, reaching its peak size around midnight, about 50 miles away from the volcano. The whole natural disaster took the lives of more than 50 people. After the eruption, the mountain looked like a wasteland, and scientists wanted to see how life could start fresh in such a harsh place. So, their unusual plan was to release a few gophers to dig around the barren soil. Those busy burrowers churned up ash and volcanic debris, digging deep enough to bring buried bacteria and fungi back to the surface. Tiny microbes, especially mycorrhizal fungi, are crucial because they help plants get water and nutrients. It's like hooking roots up to a nutrient highway. Within 6 years, places where gophers worked got covered with over 40,000 plants. At the same time, nearby untouched areas stayed mostly lifeless. The fungi helped plants grow in the soil that was otherwise nutrient-poor and lifeless. Even old-growth forests buried under ash bounced back quickly, thanks to their own fungal networks. But where forests had been clear-cut before the eruption, no such comeback happened. No trees, no fungi, just burned soil even decades later. If nature had its own movie, it'd be a mix of Avatar and Interstellar. And I'm not even kidding. How else could you explain something as surreal as avalanches that spark blue light or pink lakes? The thing is, these aren't CGI, and I'll show you how Earth manages to pull these off. In October 2024, a guy was lucky enough to be at the right place during the right cold night and got to record a blue avalanche. I mean, it was mainly white, but it quickly flashed a blue light while it was running downhill. Now, scientists aren't totally sure how these blue flashing avalanches happen, but they have some ideas. One part of the mystery comes from a thing called triboluminescence, which is when light is created by rubbing or breaking something. It can happen on many different occasions. One of them is with ice structures. This happens because of friction. like when two things scrape against each other, causing a little bit of sparks to appear. It's a cold light, meaning it doesn't come from heat, just from pressure or movement. Sometimes when ice cracks or breaks under pressure, it can make a tiny electrical charge. When something disturbs ice blocks, making it crack, this ignites a reaction. The trapped ions are charged particles, and when they suddenly get released, they start moving around. This big release of energy is what creates flashes of light. In this case, a blue glow or flash of light. All of this happens absurdly fast, so to actually witness this release of light is super rare. In June of 2024, people in the US witnessed a massive emergence of cicadas that only appear once every 13 or 17 years. Cicadas spend most of their life cycles underground. While they're still nymphs, they can spend multiple years feeding on tree roots. Some species can spend up to 17 years under the earth before they're ready to re-emerge to the surface and officially turn into adults. But 2024, both 13-year and 17-year-old cicadas appeared at the same time. And since 13 and 17 are prime numbers, this event only happens once every 221 years. The forests got absurdly loud. You see, cicadas can sing anywhere as loud as 80 to 120 decibels. They usually sing in groups, which is why it tends to get pretty loud. Someone who actually lived through this event said they could yell at full strength while inside the forest and not hear themselves at all. When cicadas come out of the ground, the male insects produce loud songs by vibrating their abdomens to attract females. With millions of insects from both species singing together, you were in for a real-life natural symphony. Some people mistook these cicadas for locusts and called it an infestation. All the way down in Senegal, Africa, lies a unique lake. Arriving there, you might think you're walking out of a spaceship and into an unknown planet. After all, have you ever seen pink water before? The so-called Lake Retba, or Lac Rose, as known by the locals, has become internationally famous for shining its vivid pink color. And yes, you can swim there if you'd like, but you should know the water is extremely salty. Lake Retba is known to be one of the world's saltiest lakes, with a saline level of about 40%. And in case you're wondering why the water is pink, I assure you this has nothing to do with otherworldly factors. It's actually due to the high levels of salt. The algae, known as Dunaliella salina, is the one responsible for the pink shading. These algae produce red pigments that absorb sunlight, giving the lake its striking pink color. But if you'd like to catch the lake at its brightest color, you should go during the dry season, between the months of November and June. In other months, the rainwater dilutes the pigments and its color becomes less distinct. You can also find a bubblegum pink lake in Western Australia. It was actually crowned as the 10th most otherworldly sight in the world. Lake Hillier is shaped like a footprint and measures over 1,900 feet in length. You can really see how the pink stands out next to that deep blue ocean sitting next to it. Hey, look here. Any ideas what this is? Take your wildest guess. Okay, it looks like a river, right? But that doesn't look like water flowing on it. When locals first saw this happening, they didn't know what it was. So, to make things easier, they just called it Sand River. It sure was a good guess, but it turns out that what these people saw is more or less an optical illusion. It's not sand, but it's not exactly water either. You see, in arid environments, it's pretty rare for hails to happen. And in this case, what we're seeing are thousands and thousands of floating hailstones. Simply put, hail is just frozen rain that pours down in the form of small pebbles of ice. Looks pretty magical though, doesn't it? Now, isn't it crazy that something as beautiful as the Northern Lights emerges from a violent encounter? Yep, the so-called Aurora Borealis is actually the result of solar storms. Here's how it works. The sun, the giant ball of gas, sometimes throws out bits of plasma into space. When this plasma flies away from the sun, we call it a solar storm. These storms travel through space, passing by planets like Mercury and Venus before reaching Earth. When these intense solar storms hit the Earth's magnetic field, something amazing happens. These particles coming from the Sun are captured by Earth's magnetic field. They collide with atoms and molecules in the Earth's atmosphere, and these collisions create auroras, especially near the North and South poles. From where we stand, these flashes look like colorful lights dancing in the sky. But that's not really what's happening. If you zoomed in, you'd see millions of tiny flashes happening super quickly. Oh, and the northern lights make sounds too. It's a mix of chirps, crackles, and buzzing noises, like a strange radio signal. And this is the sound of a solar storm crashing into our atmosphere. Does Thor ring any bells? I'm guessing he lives inside this next natural phenomenon. The thing is, sometimes when a volcano erupts, it can be accompanied by huge thunderbolts. Scientists often refer to it as volcanic lightning, and they're still debating as to why this happens. One of their guesses is that when a volcano erupts, it projects charged debris into the atmosphere. These charges then react with other charges already present in the air, which can result in a bolt of lightning. Cool, huh? The first time anyone ever witnessed something like this was during an eruption of Mount Vesuvius in 79 CE. Last but not least, rainbows. Of course, which is the semicircular one we see most times. If you're lucky, you can witness a full circle rainbow, which usually happens in high altitudes, where the line of the horizon doesn't cut the rainbow in half. Yes, there's also the possibility of a lunar rainbow, aka the moonbow, which is a very unusual sight. It happens usually during full moons, when the light of the moon is at its brightest, and it's also perceived as a white arc, outlining the moon's outer rim. Let's just wow here for a moment. If you take 4 Burj Khalifas and stack them on top of each other, they'll be just slightly taller than the underwater mountain that oceanographers recently discovered. This giant sits in the Pacific Ocean, off the coast of Chile. It's part of an underwater mountain range that has some pretty wild things, like a coral garden almost as large as 3 standard tennis courts for doubles, and some marine species we've never seen before. A group of scientists from the Schmidt Ocean Institute explored the mountain on a special research vessel. They were on a mission that lasted for 28 days. During this time, they used a high-tech sonar system attached to the bottom of the ship. They send sound waves down to the bottom of the ocean. When these sound waves hit the seafloor, they bounce back up to the ship. By measuring how long it takes for the sound waves to travel down and come back up, the scientists can figure out the shape and features of the seafloor, like hills, valleys, and mountains. Right now, we only have detailed maps for about 26% of the seafloor, just a little more than 1/4. But the seafloor covers about 71% of the whole Earth's surface. The team of scientists used a special underwater robot to study one of the mountain's ridges and found a whole bunch of creatures. One of them was an octopus looking like a little ghost. It was all white, and the scientists nicknamed it the Casper octopus because it reminded them of the friendly ghost Casper. No one had ever seen this kind of octopus in the southern Pacific Ocean before, so it doesn't even have a real scientific name yet. The team also found another strange animal, an underwater creature looking like spaghetti. These guys are very rare. The scientists also recorded the first official footage of a special, rare type of squid. Before this, they only knew about it from a few lifeless specimens they had found. Over 3 expeditions to the Nazca Ridge, the scientists managed to explore and map 25 underwater mountains. They also cataloged 150 species they had never seen before, and there are 20 more potentially new species just from the latest expedition. They're going to share all these discoveries with a group called the Ocean Census. Their goal is to identify about 100,000 new species in the next 10 years. They hope to understand the deep ocean better and find ways to protect all the amazing life down there in this way. There are more than 14,500 identified seamounts, or underwater mountains, in the world's oceans. But satellite data and data from survey ships shows us there could be over 100,000 seamounts. Most of them are leftovers of extinct volcanoes. You can mostly find them in places where Earth's giant puzzle pieces, the tectonic plates, meet and move apart. When it happens, hot magma from inside the Earth rises up to fill the gaps. When the magma cools down, it creates new crust and sometimes builds up into seamounts or volcanoes. Seamounts are also formed near subduction zones. These are areas where two plates are pushing into each other. When one plate is forced down under another, it dives deep into the Earth's hot inside. The crust that goes down melts and turns into magma again. This hot magma rises back towards the surface because it's lighter than the surrounding rock. When it reaches the seafloor, it erupts, and volcanoes and seamounts are born. Seamounts are normally shaped like cones, but some leave craters, ridges, or flat tops, as if someone cut off the tip of a cone. The general requirement for a seamount to get that title is to be at least 3,300 feet tall from the bottom of the ocean. That's about 3 times as tall as the Eiffel Tower. Mauna Kea definitely deserves to be called a seamount and also the highest mountain on Earth. Yep, Everest has nothing on it if you compare their heights from the bottom to the top. Mount Everest is very heavy because it sits on top of a thick, dense continental crust. This crust already has a lot of weight pushing down on it from the mountain above, so it can't support much more height. Mauna Kea is on a thinner oceanic crust, which has less rock above it and more water. The oceanic crust doesn't have as much weight pushing down on it, so it can hold up a taller mountain like Mauna Kea. This seamount beauty is about 1 million years old. It was in its active stage of life hundreds of thousands of years ago. The last time it erupted was 6,000 to 4,000 years ago, and it's sleeping now, but could still wake up at some point in the distant future. Even though it's in Hawaii, Mauna Kea has an alpine climate. The temperatures can change a lot from day to night, but they don't change very much from season to season. Snow at an altitude of 11,000 feet and higher can fall here at any time of year, but it happens the most often from October to April. It didn't stop the ancient Hawaiians who lived in caves at these heights and quarried basalt for cutting tools. The top of Mauna Kea is one of the best places in the world for looking at stars and planets because the conditions up there are just perfect for it. First, the summit is in a very dry area, which is important for astronomers. When scientists study light from stars and galaxies, they need clear air without moisture, like water droplets in the air. This dry air helps them see better when they look through telescopes. Second, the summit is higher than what is called the inversion layer. This means that most clouds are below the top of the mountain, and astronomers can see the sky clearly without clouds blocking their view. The air at the top of Mauna Kea is very stable, and it helps see stars and planets very clearly. Finally, the mountain is far away from bright city lights, which makes the night sky really dark. There's an interesting group of seamounts not so far away from Mauna Kea, north of the main Hawaiian Islands. You can meet Mendelssohn, Gershwin, Beethoven, Verdi, and other famous composers here. And yep, all of them are seamounts. They were all discovered in the middle of the 20th century. It was the time when modern oceanography was just beginning, and there was a lot of research work in the Pacific Ocean. Hundreds, then thousands of seamounts were mapped, and whoever had to name them probably ran out of names or decided to honor the talented and famous musicians. There are also mathematician and mapmaker seamounts. There are about 25 members of the musician seamounts group, and they were formed back in the Cretaceous period, during the time when dinosaurs roamed the Earth. They built up over millions of years. Some of them made it above the ocean's surface and became islands, and others are still hiding underwater. Studying seamounts helps scientists understand how the Earth was shaped by volcanic eruptions and the movement of tectonic plates. They often attract mining companies that want to collect valuable minerals that gather around them, thanks to hydrothermal activity. Seamounts are also home to many different kinds of marine life, so they're important fishing areas. You can find more than 80 types of fish that people catch for food around these underwater mountains. Researchers are especially interested in how seamounts interact with ocean currents. These interactions may help create special places called hotspots, where new species can form and where there is lots of biodiversity. Scientists also think that seamounts could serve as safe havens or stepping stones for sea creatures in large areas of the ocean that are otherwise empty and barren. They want to know how the populations of animals living on seamounts change when the ocean's currents shift, and if the ecosystems that are disturbed by human activities can bounce back.
Only true adventure enthusiasts and experts dare to climb the K2 mountain, and even for them, returning safely is not a given. You can find this peak in the middle of the Karakoram mountain range in northern Pakistan. It was the second one measured during a survey in 1856. That's why it's got a weird name. K2 mountain is 28,000 feet above sea level. This makes it the second highest mountain on Earth, right after Mount Everest. It's also among the most dangerous places. Out of the top 5 highest mountains globally, K2 is the most dangerous, claiming 1 life for every 4 people who reach the top. Avalanches, crazy storms, and tricky slopes make K2 the toughest mountain to climb on the planet. The air is thin. Only 1/3 of the oxygen you can find at sea level is up there on the K2 summit. Storms can last for days, causing lots of trouble. K2 might be a tad shorter than Mount Everest, but it's way harder to climb because of its terrain. Everest has some flat stretches, but K2 is steep almost all the way up. At 24,000 feet, it flattens out a little, but rockfalls and unpredictable weather make this area a real risk zone. Everest might be taller, but K2 is considered more lethal. Everest has a couple of popular routes, like the South Col and the North Ridge. K2, on the other hand, doesn't believe in easy routes. Even the supposedly simple one is steep as heck, averaging 45 degrees from base to summit. While Everest has spots where climbers can chill out, K2 doesn't play that game. Campsites on K2 are tiny compared to those on Everest, and things get wild as you climb higher. On Everest, climbers might sometimes ditch their helmets, especially on less intense sections. But on K2, you better keep that helmet on from the get-go. Rocks are falling, avalanches are happening, safety first. Rescues are a whole different story on K2. The rocky terrain makes it tough to bring down an injured climber. Helicopters aren't readily available, and even if you get one, it's going to cost you a pretty penny. Everest is a bit friendlier in that department. These Nepalese climbers are a big deal on Everest, but not so much on K2. Sherpas are like the superheroes of Everest, helping climbers speed up the ascent. On K2, it's a bit more of a solo mission. Now, let's talk about danger zones. The Khumbu icefall on Everest is gnarly, but K2's bottleneck takes the cake. It's higher, which makes it way riskier. And here's the kicker. There have been years when nobody has reached K2's summit. That's not a thing on Everest. Success rates on Everest are a lot higher. The first attempt to reach the summit was made in 1902 by a team of climbers, but they only got to 21,400 feet. Only in 1954 did an Italian crew with a Pakistani buddy in tow finally conquer K2. That was no easy feat. By August 2022, only around 700 people had reached the top. At least 91 people have lost their lives trying to conquer the peak. Moving on to other extreme places on Earth, like Ethiopia's Danakil Depression. At first glance, it looks like another planet, for example, Mars. Its landscape is a mix of burning salt, volcanic rock, and sulfuric acid, all in shades of yellow and orange. There are springs with bad vibes around the Dalo volcano, one of the many volcanoes in the area. Scientists have recently examined samples from these pools, hoping to find signs of life. But no luck. The DNA levels in these springs are basically non-existent. This makes the Danakil Depression one of the least friendly places for life on our planet. The next extreme zone is Death Valley, California. It's among the hottest spots on our planet. You can cook eggs on the ground there. The highest temperature ever recorded by a weather station in that area was 134 degrees Fahrenheit in 1913. Keep in mind that there's an even hotter ground spot on our planet. It's in the Dashilut Desert in Iran. A NASA satellite measured a temperature of 159 degrees Fahrenheit there in 2005. It's so blazing hot that birds flying through that area sometimes drop from the sky because they can't handle the intense heat. So let's switch from heat to humidity, because we're going to a village called Mawsynram in India. This place is the rain champion of the world. It's got so much rain in a year that if you put Rio de Janeiro's Christ the Redeemer, that huge 98-foot-tall statue there, it would be standing in knee-deep water. This village is in the Kashi Hills. It has 467 inches of rainfall every year. It's like stacking 39 standard cereal boxes, one on top of the other, over the course of a year. Our next one is La Oroya. Living in this city in central Peru is really tough for the 25,000 people calling this place home. The air is filled with dangerous stuff like arsenic, lead, and sulfur dioxide. Even rain is acidic, wrecking local plants. In La Oroya, there's a metal factory that makes things like gold, silver, and cadmium. That factory is the main job provider in the city. Yet, in 2007, experts said that this place was one of the most polluted spots on Earth. People are working hard to clean up the mess and make life better there. Tristan da Cunha in the South Atlantic is the most isolated spot on Earth. It's a tiny bunch of islands with just 246 people living there. There's no place to land a plane. If you want to visit or leave, you're in for a boat ride. It's a 6-day journey all the way from South Africa, about 1,500 to 1,700 miles away. Now, probably the most dangerous place to spend your life is the Pacific Islands of Vanuatu. You would be living life on the edge, dodging volcanoes, earthquakes, and tsunamis every day. UN's World Risk Index classifies this place as the riskiest spot to call home. Satellite data says sea levels around Vanuatu have been rising by about 6 millimeters every year since 1993. Plus, in April 2020, the island got smacked by Tropical Cyclone Harold, the worst in 5 years, with harsh winds hitting up to 155 miles per hour. Our next one is a place where loads of people are crammed into a tiny space. Manila in the Philippines has an estimated 184,570 people packed into every square mile. Manila is that crowded because of the city's economic growth in the past 50 years, mostly thanks to its bustling port. More money and jobs mean more people moving in. With people comes pollution and traffic jams, which turn life there into an everyday struggle. Oh, and finding a place to live in Manila is like searching for a needle in a haystack. A massive housing shortage adds even more chaos to the mix. Yakutsk in Russia claims the crown for being the city with the lowest winter temperatures. In 1891, it hit minus 83.9 degrees Fahrenheit. It isn't the coldest place on Earth, though. The Eastern Antarctic Plateau in Antarctica holds that record with minus 137 degrees Fahrenheit. Yakutsk is the coldest city in the world for a few reasons. Firstly, it's far from the sea, with no warm ocean influences. Secondly, a high-pressure system brings frigid air from the Arctic during winter. Sunlight is a rare sight in Yakutsk during winter. The city sits on continuous permafrost, meaning the ground is always frozen too. Around 355,000 people call Yakutsk home. What's surprising is that this spot cranks up the heat in the summer. In July, the average high temperature reaches 79 degrees Fahrenheit. That's hotter than in London during the same season. Well, that's some wacky weather, huh? The coldest part of our planet, Antarctica, keeps surprising us. Take a look at this waterfall named Blood Falls. Reddish water falls from the white ice. Scientists concluded that the color is related to iron. The water coming from the glacier oxidizes and rusts when it's exposed to oxygen, and the red color occurs. Step on Mount Ganding. It lays eggs. Well, maybe not real eggs, but the stones certainly look like dinosaur eggs. That's why the mountain got its fame. Let's call them stone eggs, formed in one part of the mountain over 500 million years ago. Interestingly, this phenomenon repeats once every 30 years. Eggs come out in various sizes and shades. The stones appear on the surface of the cliff. A study made in the area has revealed that the composition of the stones of the cliff isn't similar to other parts of the mountain. Here, calcareous rocks rule. They're more prone to erosion. They ripen off day by day. It took 3 decades for the stones to get to the egg shape. Yet, it's still a mystery how these rock formations can be so perfectly spherical and smooth. According to scientists, every stone egg has an organic core. They're made of shells, plant remains, fish teeth, and skeletons. Maybe this has something to do with it. Gulu village is close to the stone eggs. Locals believe that these eggs are sacred. Villagers associate it with good fortune. In fact, nearly every family has one of these eggs in their house. Unfortunately, there are only about 70 eggs left, so if you want to see them, you gotta hurry up. The Richet structure is a circular geological phenomenon in the Sahara Desert near Mauritania. It's made out of rocks in layers, and these layers look very much like rings. No wonder the unique structure even got NASA's attention. Up from the sky, the geological feature seems to be swirling and spinning. Scientists are still not sure how these rings got there. Some say it was an asteroid impact. Many others believe that it was a natural geological process. To them, the Richet structure is an uplifted and eroded dome. Geologists often classify it as a domed anticline. The scientists discovered that the rocks at the center are older than the ring-shaped outer rocks. So it seems like the stones have been eroded to flat rock layers. Anyway, there's no valid explanation for this phenomenon, and the 28-mile-long mystery of the Sahara is still to be solved. Number 4 is Rapa Nui, or Isla de Pascua, but I bet you know it as Easter Island. Yeah, it's got 3 names. It was discovered by Jacob Roggeveen, who actually never intended to look for that island. He just casually landed there one Sunday. That's where the name comes from. Jacob was supposed to find Terra Australis. Disclaimer, it's not Australia. This one never existed and was nothing but a hypothetical continent. Plus, he wanted to peek at Davis Land, which was believed to have once been seen by Edward Davis, the pirate, not Edward Davis, the saxophone player. Jacob failed at that too, though nobody ever saw that island except for the pirate Davis. Jacob may have failed to discover some lands he wanted to, but he discovered Easter Island instead. This is an island in special territory of Chile, located in the southeastern Pacific Ocean. It's on my list because nearly 1,000 stone statues called moai were found there. They were created by the Rapa Nui people. Nearly all statues represent gigantic heads, but there are also a small number of figures kneeling with their hands over their stomachs. Each statue represented chiefs or other important members of Easter Island society. To curve those statues, the locals used volcanic stones that were softened. Our next stop is the gateway to the underworld. Nah, don't worry. This is just how people labeled Darvaza gas crater in Turkmenistan. This giant natural gas crater has been there for 5 decades. This crater is continuously burning gases. The president of the country wants experts to find a way to extinguish this continuous firing pit. This site was created by people accidentally in 1971 while working on a natural gas project. Ever since then, the flames have been on, and it's become a tourist attraction. Mysterious constructions are sometimes built in our era, too. We don't have to go millions of years ago to long-gone civilizations. Edward Leedskallen single-handedly built a structure called Coral Castle in Homestead, Florida. He didn't use any large machinery. He carved and sculpted more than 1,100 tons of coral rock in 28 years until 1951. It's a mystery how he managed to do it all by himself. Leedskallen sculpted the sedimentary rock into different objects, such as walls, tables, chairs, a fountain, and a sundial. There's of course a legend behind this mystery too. He was inspired to build the structure after being abandoned by his fiancée on their wedding day. Uh-oh, runaway bride. Well, he wanted to prove his love to her and the world, so he wanted to do something extraordinary. Well, he definitely nailed it. Now, let's talk a little bit about the mystery of the Namibian fairy circles. There are millions of circular patches in hundreds of miles, ranging from 10 to 65 feet in diameter. They're called fairy circles because they look like a fairy or an otherworldly creature made them. These are essentially oval-shaped soil surrounded by grass. There are a lot of local beliefs surrounding the creator of these marks, yet science says something else. Biologists and mathematicians have been puzzled by the mystery of the Namibian fairy circles for decades. There is more than one theory to explain this phenomenon. Here's one popular theory. The water is limited in the desert, so plants compete to reach the water. Some plants expand and thrive into a patch, but smaller plants nearby cannot get the necessary water to live. In the end, some vegetation disappears, and the remaining ones stay at the patch's edges. That's why they form such regular distant gaps. What if I tell you that there is a hill in Leh City, India, where instead of rolling downwards, things roll uphill? It's an optical illusion. The road looks like it's a sloping hill because of its surrounding landscapes, yet the road actually goes down. These kinds of hills are called magnetic hills or gravity hills. Scientific explanations vary. The most common theory says that the hill has such a strong magnetic force that it can pull cars in the vicinity. Now, how about seeing some flaming rocks? Yanartash spread over an area of over 3 square miles. The place is located on a rocky mountain in southwest Turkey near the town of Ciaralea. Yanartash got its name from its appearance. It literally means flaming stone. The rocks have been flaming for at least 2,500 years, and they'll probably keep burning for the coming decades. The mountain where the rocks are is an inactive volcano, so it's full of tiny fumaroles that release gases such as methane. The gas ignites when it comes into contact with oxygen and creates the flaming effect. And by the way, back in the day, sailors used the flames as a natural lighthouse, as it's really close to the sea. Today, it's more of a tourist attraction, though. Hikers love it too. Now, walk on this frozen Lake Abraham in Canada. In winter, the frozen water gets filled with ice bubbles. It looks magical, but these white orbs aren't that safe. They consist of flammable methane gas. Ew. Beauty can be misleading. The next one is from Racetrack Death Valley, USA. There is a dry lake bed with moving rocks. Now these odd rocks look as if they've been pushed or dragged by someone or something. They leave both a trail and a mystery behind. The force behind all this is now understood. Surprise! It's the wind and some ice. Scientists say the wind pushes the rocks during brief windows when the soil is covered with ice. Now, I can't help but notice that many mysterious things on Earth involve stones or rocks, or methane. Which one of these phenomena is your favorite?
There are many miles of undiscovered areas beneath the crust we can't even come close to. Scientists found what appears to be underground mountains buried inside the mantle. Our planet is divided into 3 layers: the crust, the mantle, and the core. The crust is where 8 billion people, trillions of trees, and millions of animals live and thrive. There are also different types of crust in the land and the ocean. The oceanic crust contains unique rocks and is denser than the land crust. We all see how the Earth is divided and color-coded to show the crust, mantle, and core in textbooks. But there are also special layers in between that not everyone talks about. The mantle is divided into the upper and lower part, which is the transition zone. Since the mantle acts as the geological recycling center, the plate tectonics don't only move side to side, but up and down. It's actually why all the volcanoes appeared. The magma spews out to the surface or even underwater, and then sinks back down and repeats. The transitions go down 250 miles and then 410 miles. And in this bottom layer, scientists keep discovering the hidden landscapes. The mountains in the mantle are more rugged and much larger than the ones on the crust. Scientists found a mountain range with peaks higher than Mount Everest. Some of them are as high as 600 miles. When the continents were still landlocked together, there may have been some hidden lands now underwater. Theories suggest that Iceland used to be part of a larger microcontinent, Icelandia, which connected present-day Iceland with Greenland and Scandinavia. The idea digs even deeper to a greater Icelandia, which includes Britain. But after the split, these bigger lands sunk with everything in it. There are also theories about New Zealand being part of Zealandia, a hidden microcontinent within the same region. So it could be that these mountains used to be part of old Earth that are underground over the billions of years of natural occurrences, but still it isn't very likely. One theory is that these underground mountain ranges could be leftover slabs of rock that descended from the surface to the transition zone from the moving of the tectonic plates. As they sink, the large pieces break down into smaller ones, and as they compile over the millions of years, they form what appears to be underground mountains. Since the mantle is the geologic recycling zone, it's likely that the rocks down there used to be part of the surface. They weren't large pieces of land that got hidden, just like dogs hide bones in the garden, but it takes way more time to hide mountains. Some parts of the mantle appear to be smooth, while others aren't so much. The parts that have a cluster of rocks could contain hidden elements in the underground mountains. The smoother parts don't have much seismic or volcanic activity, while the rough parts do. The best way to study those underground landscapes is to wait for an earthquake or a volcano eruption to happen. Seismologists can observe the Earth's interior with special scanners, just like doctors use ultrasound to examine a patient. They can even see minor details and not huge chunks of rocks. A strong enough earthquake can send shock waves to the Earth's interior, even through the core and back up to the surface. Depending on where they occur, seismologists can observe and study the intensity of the waves as they move back and forth. On smooth rocks, the waves can travel in a straight line, but once they reach a rough area, the waves tend to scatter. The temperature and composition of the materials can make the waves move faster or slower. But this info isn't exactly accurate and won't contribute a lot to the actual data of the underground mountains. So by analyzing the scattered waves on ships and utilizing the Earth's magnetic field, scientists can figure out everything they need to know. But these studies are only good enough to figure out the interior in today's state, not how the Earth changed over the past 4.5 billion years. However, scientists are certain that mantle material still dates back to the beginning of Earth's original formation. The question, why not just dig a hole to the center of the Earth and see what's going on down there, might seem logical. The deepest hole humans have dug so far is the Kola Deep borehole in the Russian Arctic that goes more than 40,000 feet deep. The locals claim they can actually hear screaming coming from below. It took almost 20 years to drill as far as they went, but it's literally merely scratching the surface of what's underneath. They dug about 1/3 of the crust, which is only 0.2% to the center of the Earth. Getting there is beyond us, just like trying to reach the sun. No human can handle the amount of pressure down there. Going down the Mariana Trench, the Earth's deepest point, requires special gear to withstand all the immense pressure. It'll cost a fortune to build that tech to get us to the center of our planet. Evidence of diamonds buried deep in Brazil shows that everything we do on the crust's surface can affect things miles below, even towards the mantle. Scientists dug up 6 diamonds that could hold tiny mineral grains. As they're called in the mineral world, these inclusions have a chemistry composition where they originated deep in the Earth. Typical diamonds are formed at depths less than 125 miles in the upper mantle, where it's extremely hot. The high pressure and boiling temperature down crystallizes carbon and creates diamonds. But humans can't dig all the way down there. They mine them by detecting where a deep volcanic eruption happened that expelled these diamonds to the surface. These eruptions occurred millions of years ago, when dinosaurs used to rule the Earth. They shot out the diamonds that were in the mantle and are now embedded within the cooled-down volcanic material. That's where people mine them. But these special diamonds found in Brazil originated from a much deeper point than usual, which can further help scientists study the depths of the Earth. They can extract these inclusions and analyze them in a lab to tell where exactly these minerals come from. In the lab, scientists study inclusions, each just 15 to 40 microns wide, less than a quarter width of a human hair. They found out that they contained many types of minerals found in volcanic rock on the surface. The carbon composition of the magma from the surface is much different than the ones deep in the Earth. What's crazy is that these diamonds with special inclusions can only be found 435 miles in the lower mantle. With only a few samples of them found, we don't know what else lies beneath us. It's possible that those mountain ranges underground, taller than Mount Everest, can have traces of diamonds all around, which would prompt excavators to dig them up and saturate the market with them. These diamonds are less flawed than the usual ones and might even come in many sizes. It's possible to see diamonds as large as a car or as small as a grain of rice. There might even be new diamonds with different chemical compositions than the ones we find near the surface. The largest diamond in the world is the Cullinan, which can fit in the palm of your hand. It weighs around 1.3 pounds and is 3,100 carats. It was found in 1905 in South Africa. For anything to exist on Earth, you need carbon. In a nutshell, the carbon cycle is when plants and algae release carbon dioxide into the atmosphere or dissolved in water through photosynthesis. It's converted into carbohydrates and stored as fat. Later on, carbon dioxide is released into the atmosphere through breathing, which the plants benefit from, and the cycle goes on. Scientists claim that there might even be a carbon cycle in Earth's interior. The oceanic crust has a lot of carbon sediment that could mix with the upper and lower mantle layer. But there still isn't enough evidence to support this. The deep diamonds might be the key to popping open that theory. Only time will tell.
It was 29,002 feet in 1954. 22 years later, it grew by 27 feet. In 1999, the top was 7 feet higher. In 2020, it was 3 feet less than that. What gives? Mount Everest is still the tallest mountain in the world, even though its height is constantly changing. It had been measured for the first time long before anyone even climbed it. In the 19th century, there used to be this thing called a theodolite, the grandfather of mechanisms engineers and land surveyors use today. It measured the angles between two horizontal points. After that, it would go with basic trigonometry to measure where the third point is and how distant it is. That's how mountains are measured. It was complicated because people who measured it had to know where sea level is. Now, there's no sea near the Himalayas, which is why surveyors had to walk all the way from the Bay of Bengal to do the measuring. Others who tried to measure Everest later got similar results, but never the same. Sea level is constantly going up or down because of changes happening on Earth, so it's not easy to be that precise. Mount Everest is part of the Himalayan mountains, and the whole chain is getting taller by around 1/5 of an inch a year. The tectonic collision that created the Himalayas in the first place started 50 million years ago, and it's still going on. That causes growth, but also brings earthquakes that are in charge of reducing its height. So the information from older geography books may not be accurate these days. Mount Everest is the tallest mountain, but only compared to those measured above sea level. There's Mauna Kea volcano in Hawaii, and if you measure from its underwater base, it's 4,000 feet taller than Everest. Antarctica actually has several time zones, 9 of them to be precise. The Great Wall of China. Nope, it can't be seen from space. Sure, sometimes you can identify it when in lower Earth orbit, but at these heights you can see many structures built by civilization. For example, the Great Pyramids of Giza. When on the moon, you can see some green vegetation and a beautiful, mostly white sphere, lots of blue, and patches of yellow. Gulp. Oh no, you swallowed a gum accidentally. No worries, your body won't need 7 years to digest it. It's a myth our parents told us to stop us from swallowing gums. Your body can't digest the ingredients found in gums, so it'll simply move it along. You don't swallow 8 spiders a year while sleeping. Spiders, luckily, don't care about humans, and they don't have any prey or something else that might interest them in your bed. They see you as some kind of a big rock. The air coming from your mouth is creating vibrations that will stop them from trying to get into your mouth. A popular story that famous physicist Albert Einstein failed math in school isn't exactly true. He failed in botany, zoology, and language sections at an entrance exam to a school in Zurich. He was always great at math. Boy, I sure wasn't. It never added up for me. Humans and dinosaurs never really coexisted. They missed each other by over 60 million years. Oil won't prevent pasta from sticking. If you like adding oil, feel free to, but it will only make pasta greasier. Stir it to stop it from clumping. You only use 10% of your brain, or not. You never use 100% of your brain all at once, but you use every region almost every day. Your brain needs to work at full capacity all the time because that's something that keeps you alive. Bananas don't grow on trees. They are big herbs that resemble trees. Pineapples grow from the center of a leafy plant that's on the ground. Goldfish may not be the smartest animal ever, but their memory is longer than 3 seconds. It's up to 3 months, which isn't a lot, but enough for it to remember your 3 wishes. Shaving won't thicken your hair. It'll grow the same as it was. You may only think it's darker or coarser because the hair will grow back with a blunt tip. Coffee lovers, don't worry, caffeine won't dehydrate you. It does have a diuretic effect, but still, the amount of water in your coffee has the opposite effect, so you're good. You won't damage your eyes if you're too close to the TV screen. That blue light coming from it causes strain in your eyes, but it's a temporary condition. Dogs see more than black and white. They can't see the full color spectrum as humans do, but the world is not a couple of shades of gray for them. They have around 20 to 40% of visual acuity humans have, so distant things may be pretty blurry for pups. But they see better in dimmer light and can detect motions or any kind of movements way better than you do, especially when the delivery guy is approaching the front door. Bees aren't only attracted to yellow out of all shades, they also see colors a little bit different than humans. They recognize only lighter ones, such as green or yellow. All darker colors look black to them. That's why they're more likely to go for flowers with light colors and clothes of the same tones. If you're wearing a green t-shirt, you might look like a flower to them. Almost all creatures on Earth have a limited lifespan. One species of jellyfish is immortal. It matures, but at one point it simply reverts back to the juvenile polyp stage. That cycle of phases is endless. There are many types of berries, but a strawberry is not one of them. Scientists define berry as a plant with 3 distinct layers. There's an outer skin, a fleshy middle, and internal seeds. That means watermelon, grapes, and eggplants are technically berries. Polar bears aren't really white. They have black skin, and their fur is clear and hollow. They only look white because light hits their fur and stays trapped inside of that hollow part of a particular hair. That causes something called luminescence. With all that, salt particles stick to their fur and then start scattering light. If you set a chameleon on a yellow surface, it'll turn yellow. If you set it on a red one, it'll turn red. In fact, chameleons don't change their own color to adjust to the color of their surrounding. Their mood, the amount of light, and temperature makes them change color. So when you see a bright yellow chameleon, it might be angry. Giraffes have the same number of neck vertebrae as you do. An average human neck is only 4 inches long, while giraffes usually have a 6-foot neck. But both have 7 bones in their necks. Pirates don't have eye patches to cover an eye that's missing, but to increase their night vision. They had to be aware of everything going on around them. So, many think it's just a dry desert with nothing but sand over there. But research shows there's definitely water on Mars. Scientists found big saltwater lakes under the ice at the planet's south pole. Bats are not blind. Their eyes are small and they don't see that well during the daytime, especially not so sharp and colorful as humans do. But their vision is adapted to different conditions and is excellent during the nighttime, unlike ours. Black holes aren't invisible. A black hole is a very compact and huge object that has an extremely powerful gravitational pull, so strong even light can't avoid it. The swallowing center is something scientists call the event horizon. It's surrounded by a glowing circle made of rock, debris, and space dust, so it can be seen pretty well. Scientists even got the first pictures of it. Despite what the name says, Iceland is not really covered with ice. The coast is ice-free during the entire winter. There are glaciers, but also lots of geysers and active volcanoes. In 2010, one of them woke up and threw up so much ash into the sky, air transport across Europe had to be stopped for a couple of days. Green peas, lentils, peanuts. Wait, peanuts? Yup, that's right. They don't belong to the group of nuts, but legumes. Moon has a dark side. Not quite. The side that's facing away from the Earth is no darker than any other part of its surface. Sunlight equally falls on all of its sides, so it only seems to be dark from our perspective.
Welcome to Everest City. It's a megapolis built inside a relatively young mountain. Everest is only about 55 million years old, but it's already the highest mountain in the world, 29,000 feet. Picture the Statue of Liberty. Now, imagine she had 83 twin brothers and sisters, and they were all standing on top of each other. If you wanted to get there back in the day, you had to pass some serious fitness tests, train for months, have perfect health, and spend a lot of money. Oh, and be a little crazy. Now that Mount Everest has been turned into a city, though, you don't need any of that stuff. Well, except money. Apartments here don't come cheap. It's easy to navigate around Everest City. The whole thing's basically 6 circles. It looks like a finger with 6 rings on it. The lowest and largest circle is the residential area. The highest and smallest ones near the top is where the richest people live. Below that is the meditation circle. Then a circle for hotels, and 2 circles of pure entertainment. Everest City isn't built like an ordinary city. You won't find tall houses or 6-lane highways here. Almost all buildings are built inside the mountain. At first, people were building ordinary houses, but strong icy winds and avalanches kept knocking them down. Then, engineers decided to build houses inside the mountain. They're connected by underground tunnels. From the inside, the mountain looks like a system of labyrinths. The entrance to Everest City is located at the foot of the mountain. Every day, hundreds of thousands of cars enter and leave the city. There's no factories or power stations inside. Electricity, gas, food, everything comes from the outside world. That's why all the stuff in Everest City's so insanely expensive. People want to keep the mountain covered in snow. That's another reason why there's no factories and stuff. There's almost no heating in the houses. People live here like they do in those ice hotels. But you don't need to go around wearing a bunch of layers. Designers created special thermal pants, socks, and t-shirts that go under your regular clothes. All that, plus jeans and a t-shirt, is totally enough to keep you toasty warm. To keep your face fresh, they've come up with a special cream. It warms and moisturizes your skin, and it's SPF 100, which is about what you'd need if you liked walking around on the top of Everest. Want to stop by a coffee shop, then grab a double bacon cheeseburger and maybe a slice of cheesecake? And that'll set you back about $500. A movie ticket costs at least $100, and internet's so expensive, you'd have to pay about $1 just to watch this video. Even so, more and more people are moving to Everest City every year. It's peaceful and quiet. You feel harmony and unity with nature. There's also a world-famous meditation center on its own special circle. People from all over the world come here to get their body and mind back into harmony. But the greatest draw is that you can visit the summit whenever you want, like it's your daily walk in the park. Before Everest City, conquering this mountain was extremely dangerous. There's 3 times less oxygen up there than in almost any other city. If your body doesn't get enough oxygen, you can find yourself in big problems. Climbers used to take oxygen tanks with them, which slowed them down and made everything more complicated. It's hard to get out of the way of an avalanche with huge metal cylinders on your back. Strong winds are a big problem too. At the top, the wind can blow at 100 miles an hour. Try to nail one of those jumping selfies and you'll be blown clean off the mountain. It's so cold that icicles form on your hair and your skin gets covered with a thin crust of ice. And when you're up there, you have a special terrible superpower. A loud scream could cause an avalanche. But now, everything's chill. To get to the top of Everest, you just need to sit in a comfortable snowmobile capsule. It'll protect you from any bad weather or the odd avalanche. If you get covered with too much snow, you just turn on a powerful heater, wait a few for the snow to melt, and continue on your journey. Oxygen cylinders inside the cabin let you breathe normally. The new road to the top is well lit, and there are signs everywhere, so you never get lost. The only problem is traffic. Every day, thousands of people want to visit the highest point on the planet. You might have to wait in line for several hours. But don't worry, all Evercity capsules are equipped with high-speed internet, an 8K screen, and game consoles. And if you get hungry, you can always order food, delivered by the latest AI robot snowmobile. You made it! So quickly find a parking spot, leave your capsule there, and head to the ski lift that'll take you straight to the top. Now, all you have to do is put on an oxygen mask and enjoy the view. While you're up there, you notice an ad inviting you to dine at the highest restaurant in the world, just 100 feet below the summit. It'll set you back around $10,000. Tempting, but you're not hungry. Feel like the king of the world. Dine with us at Best Food Everest. Pretty good ads, but you already feel like the king of the world. You scream with delight and... well, unfortunately, you just can't stay up there forever. There's not that much space at the top, so they only give you about a minute to enjoy the view. But it's okay, you can come back tomorrow. There are 2 ways back down the mountain. You can get in your capsule and drive home, or grab a snowboard and ride down. But before you rent some skis or snowboard, you need to show your Everest driver's license. It says if you've passed the special snowboard and skiing test. You take a snowboard and jet down a lit track. You zoom past the top of some houses sticking out just below the summit. That's where the wealthiest people live. They can just walk out their front doors and take a special elevator up to the top. You'd need to be a billionaire to have one of those houses, but there are over 2,000 of them right now, about half of them from the USA and China. Unfortunately, you live much lower down the mountain, but that has its advantages. The lower you live, the less you pay for food, entertainment, and electricity. You glide into the meditation center for a bit. A special ventilation system delivers air directly from the top of the mountain, plus a little added oxygen. You breathe in pure harmony. All 6 rings of Evercity have 360-degree views, and from way up there, all you can see is peaceful snowy mountains, mixing with wispy clouds. After meditation, you head down to the entertainment rings. They've got it all. Coffee shops, any meal you can think of, shows, bowling, arcades, even an ice skating rink that's half inside, half outside the mountain. There are different gyms, but they all have one thing in common: sunbaths. You lie down in a hammock or bed, and curtains slide apart above your head. The sun shines through the sealed windows, and you get a full dose of the purest sunlight on Earth. Just 5 minutes, and you're ready for the rest of your day. If you don't want to go outside anymore, you can get home through the tunnels. They're not dark and cold, if that's what you're thinking. Evercity tunnels look like ice caves, lit up by hundreds of lights. It feels like a snowy fairy tale. After a short walk, you get to your apartment. It's compact, but cozy. To save money on electricity, you chose to go without a fridge. No problem, you keep your food in a little box just outside your window. The snow will keep it cold. With the help of a heating and filtration system, you get all the water you need from the millions of tons of snow on Everest. It's the cleanest water around. In the evening, you go down and watch a movie. There's an outdoor cinema at the foot of the mountain. At night, a huge machine projects movies directly onto the snowy surface of Everest. You watch the movie in capsules, either alone or in groups, kind of like a drive-in. Come on over! Visit Evercity any time of the year.